So the race is coming up in February 2025. The roster's out, the course isn't out, but you've raced in the same stadium before. You've raced with each of these pilots. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to go down in Miami?
Well, I definitely will want to hear your predictions as well and your thoughts as to why, just because it's fun for me. But what I would say, it's going to be interesting. I think that I've always said that if you've raced in DRL before, you have a massive advantage. If you've drone raced your whole life, but you've never raced in DRL, you just can't fully prepare for what to expect. I mean, there's incremental little things that are different that all add up quickly. You're racing obviously in the biggest stage in drone racing in front of a huge audience. DRL, to be honest, they still kind of use some archaic gear. Maybe that's changing in February. I don't think so based off of what I heard. So they're still flying Racer 4. They're still flying old radios, goggles. So, that venue too is tough on video. That was one of the things that surprised me the last time I was there was the video signal was horrible. And so, you get such a limited window to practice in DRL. You usually get about 6 to 8 batteries. It just kind of depends on how many drones they have ready. And I expect them to be fully prepared for this event. But with that, it's going to be really tough for these new guys coming in to be able to get up to speed quickly and then get into a race. I would be really surprised, to be perfectly honest, if any of the new pilots make it to a podium. I'd be really surprised. I just think that it takes a special kind of pilot to be able to do that and come into the event and do that. I think that I was able to do it in 2019. I think that Evan was able to do it in 2021. You really don't see that many other guys doing that. But granted, it's a whole new year. Things could have changed since then. Pilot skill has definitely increased. I think I can pretty easily predict who's going to be kind of in that final, that golden heat, if that's the format they go. I think that you can count on guys like Heads Up to be there. I think you can count on Min Chan to make it in there. I think Amari's definitely going to be in there. He's on a hot streak. Killian's going to be in there. I think Pavelos is in there as well. I think, to your point earlier, I think Pavelos has come a long way. He's definitely a wild card in DRL events. I've seen it firsthand. Just kind of depends on the night of. I think that final spot, again, I hope that I think there's 12 guys, right? So I'm hoping that there's 12 guys. So there's going to be 6 people in the final. It's tough. I mean, who are the guys? You got Levi, Neukel, Propsicle, Chows.
You named 5 of the 7 veterans coming back. The only 2 veterans coming back.
Halo.
That you didn't. Halo Walker, who don't sleep on Leon.
I can't sleep on Halo.
And Alex FPV, who has been, correct me if I'm wrong, he's been kind of out of the drone racing scene for a little bit up until recently.
I wouldn't count out Alex. That's true. And I'm not going to count out Halo Walker. I really like Leon. I know he really struggled at that Miami venue until the very final event. I think that from what I've seen in him in DRL, he has all the capability to be able to win events. I've seen it firsthand. But I definitely think he's not so much a hot or cold pilot, but he's a venue-based pilot and a course-paced pilot. So, when I say the names like the guys are going to be there, I think the 3 I can easily bet money on would be Evan, or Heads Up FPV, Amari, MCK, in no particular order, because these guys just know how to fly on all these different tracks. These guys know what it takes to win races. They know how to game the system, as I like to say, and how to be in the right place at the right time. I think the other guys are kind of wild cards, honestly. You could just roll the dice and you could be right. But I definitely would lean to the guys who have the experience because, again, these guys aren't going to probably get that much practice when they get into that event. If DRL wanted to make it fair, they'd give the new guys like an extra 8 practice batteries. And even that, I don't feel like would be enough. Maybe not. Maybe these guys are so good now that the video going in there won't surprise them. The fact that they're sitting in a different style chair and that they have to adapt to a different controller every time, even though they're the same controller. Like, these pilots are so in tune with their craft that just little differences are going to make, a difference. And I think the guys who are more experienced are going to be prepared for that versus the new guys. So I don't know. I think definitely you could say those 3 will be in there. As far as who's going to win the event,
if you're looking to learn more about drone racing and get involved in the drone racing community, another great free resource is the Drone Racing Network page on Discord. There are channels to both talk about professional racing going on around the world, as well as a place for you to show off your own racing content. Additionally, you can ask questions to pro pilots and find members in your community to race with. It's our one-stop shop for all of your drone racing needs. You can scan this QR code or click the link in the description below to get plugged in.
Oh man, it's tough. I've thought about it a lot, because again, I think about drone racing all the time. I think that those three names have the best shot of winning it. Anything can happen in drone racing. I've seen it firsthand. Anything can happen. This year is interesting because, to my knowledge, that the Racer 4s are not going to be throttle capped, so they're going to be just wide open Racer 4s. Which
have they been throttle capped in the past?
They've been throttle capped in the past, and so now that they're not throttle capped, I've seen, and the way I know this, by the way, isn't because I got insider knowledge. It's because I can watch Evan's practice videos. Oh yeah, I watch his stuff, Propsicles, and I can hear the sound of the drone. I know what an uncapped Racer 4 sounds like. And these guys are smart. They wouldn't be flying it if it wasn't going to be that in the race. They just wouldn't do that. Right. And it's crazy because, Racer 4 capped can fly for like 2 minutes full throttle, whereas Propsicle does a 60-second video and the battery's done. So it just shows you the speed difference. And I think what's going to be interesting with that is, unless they're doing RPM limiting, then a lot of it is going to come down to battery. I really hate to say it because I know DRL is a stock spec class race, but if every battery is brand new, then it's going to be the same. But if one battery is 3 years old and the other's not, that's going to be the difference, I think, in the final. I hope not. My goal of this is not to shame the DRL. I want the DRL to succeed. I think if DRL succeeds, drone racing succeeds, right? Yeah. But I think in that golden heat, you're going to see three people. I think you're going to see Amari. I think you're going to see Heads Up. I think you're going to see MCK. Maybe you could throw in a Killian in there. I think Killian has what it takes, but we'll see. Yep. Those guys are just so experienced in DRL. You just can't prepare for it. You don't know until you get there. It's why I don't think the rookies will make the golden heat. It's nothing against them. They can. I don't think they will.
So I agree with you what you said about Halo Walker. Very course based, and he came out the gates hot last year, and then just absolutely crapped the bed in Miami. So I love Leon. I think he has what it takes to be one of the greatest drone pilots of all time. I don't think it's going to happen in February. I hate to say it. I'm so curious about your takes on Killian because I wouldn't have said that prior to this interview, but I'm going to keep a much closer eye on him now.
Yep.
Mr. Chouse and Neukel are the two that I really don't know that well. Chris M., I talked to him about a year, whenever the tryouts were, and he won the tryouts. I don't know his IRL skill. I know he practices a ton. My thing with Chris M., Chris has incredible work ethic, and I know he's going to really push himself. And I think of all of the rookies this year, he has that absolute killer mentality. I think that mentally he understands what it would take more, and I think he is one of the greenest as far as just to prove himself. He has not done a ton as far as big accomplishments in drone racing, but his mental game, I think, is going to be rock solid. Alex FPV, coming from Miami last year, another one who really crapped the bed, and I love Alex. He's a dear friend, but I am very skeptical about that one because he hasn't been racing as much lately, but I mean, he's been in the league for a very long time. I think exactly what you said. Amari, coming off of last year's, just he had his first IRL race level win and his second, both in Miami last year, and ended up going from, I want to say he was in 7th or 6th.
He was way back there and jumped up.
Way back.
Yeah, jumped up to third.
He was on the podium. I mean, it's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. One of the most popular videos on the Mad Props channel was about Amari coming back from 12th place. He actually didn't finish the first race of the season. He completely DNF'd every single race. And so awesome to see his comeback. And I think that I agree with you. He's going to be mentally, he's just going to be on top of the world. And it's amazing how much of the game is mental, but you can just tell so quickly. I think the headlines are all going to read Heads Up versus MCK. And I'm excited to see that matchup. But I don't know Levi and Aaron and Silas Aaron well enough. I'm really excited to see both of them. But because it's just one race and not a full season, I agree with you. I just think they're a little too green, and it's just going to take that experience on the Racer 4.
Hopefully those guys get a lot more races than with DRL next year. Hopefully DRL does a lot more races next year than just Miami. I think they have every intention of doing it. I think Miami's kind of a big kickoff for them, and we'll see what happens from that. I think when you break it down, as a DRL pilot, the way I look at it is it's going to be 2 groups of 6 going into the semifinals. semifinals are based off of qualifying, and the guys who have got more time in DRL are going to know how to fly that racer 4 faster in DRL. Like all the practice videos outside DRL, they literally don't matter. They just don't. They can show pilot ability, but again, you just don't know what it's like to race in DRL. And I think anyone who's done it would agree with me until you get there. It's what all the guys in 2019 told me. The difference was I was just different, and maybe Chris M is different, but like Evan is different. He was different.
Yeah.
But with that, I think what'll happen is they're going to have a tough time because they're going to get into the semifinals, and unless they have just an outstanding qualifying session, they're going to be starting at the back. Guys like Amari, Evan, Min-Chan, Killian are going to lock out those semifinals. They're going to win every race, or they'll go back and forth, but it'll be those 4 names in the top 4 winning those races. Maybe a Halo Walker, maybe an Alex. So what's going to come down to is a sudden death race, and it's going to be I think everyone will be green at that point, except for a couple of veterans. You lean in the veterans' favor. However, what I'd say is it's then going to come down to that first race, who has the strongest mental game out of every rookie name you just said. And looking at that list, I would agree with you. I think Chris M, if he gets in that situation, has the most, I'm going to grab this and take this attitude out of all of those guys. But I've been wrong before. And so we'll see what happens in Miami. Maybe I'll be there watching. We'll see. But I think that's going to be the tough thing. I think those guys are almost guaranteed to be in that sudden death race. It's just the reality. I could be so wrong, but it's going to come down to no one's going to be like naturally better in DRL at that point. So it's going to come down to, okay, this is the chance to get in the finals, big audience, 10,000 people watching and yelling. Who can handle it the most? And I don't think any of those guys have been on a stage that big. So who knows? Maybe Chris M isn't cut out for it. I don't believe that's the case. I think they're all cut out for it. But who can grab it the most and take that opportunity? It's tough to say. And then, I think the biggest spectacle is going to be that final, the Golden Heat. I think Amari takes the event. I think he's going to win it. I think he's just got so much momentum, winning 2 of the 3 events last year in DRL. I think he's podiumed no worse than second in like every spec race since then outside of Sharjah. Like he's just done super well. I think he's talking to him in person. He's a good friend of mine. I know he's oozing with confidence. He's not like me. He's not brash. He's super humble, so he doesn't really show it. But I know he's oozing with confidence. And I think Evan's oozing with confidence too. I think Evan's got this I got nothing to lose, everything in the game mentality. And, Min-Chan's kind of quietly there, just grinding it out. But I think the podium's going to be Amari first, Evan second, Min-Chan third. I think that's going to be your top 3. And you don't have to even tune in anymore because you can save your flight up down to Miami because you heard it here first. So
I can't wait to replay this clip. I can't wait. Right. Good or bad, I can't wait.
Yep. I think Min-Chan will crash in the Golden Heat too. I'm sorry, Min-Chan. I think if you watch this, I think you're going to crash in the Golden Heat. I think it's going to come down to Amari V heads up. And I think this is based off of my experience at the Pro Spec race too, where Evan was super fast and we got into the final and he was stuck behind me. And he just was, if Evan locks in and flies his own race, he's hard to beat, but so is Amari. And I just think Evan, that the lack of the last couple seasons for Evan is going to catch up to him in that Golden Heat. But the only thing I could see hindering Amari is if he starts thinking about winning going into that goal. If he these guys are trying to win, but if he starts picturing in his mind going into that Golden Heat, like I've won this race before, maybe that is what he needs. Maybe Amari needs to do that to be like, I'm going to go get this again. But I can speak from personal experience that the moment that you start thinking about winning and what that's going to feel like is when it distracts you from what you need to do. And I think that's why Evan's got the strongest mental game because he just knows he knows how to win. Amari knows how to win. And the more I talk, I think it's going to come down to those two. I could see a surprise. I could envision a Killian podium on the podium.
Yeah.
But I think Amari and Evan are out of that group probably the best spec racing pilots. I think Amari's the best, but I think Evan's just got a little bit more of that attitude to him. But I think Amari wins it. I think he's gonna get third win.
Last year, level 13, it was MCK, Amari, and I believe Killian, and exactly what you're saying happened where MCK DNF'd like right out the gate, and then it ended up being between the two of them. I think Killian had some prop.
Maverick was in there, but he was behind.
That's right.
Amari just kind of pulled the entire race. He kept it clean.
Yeah,
that didn't surprise me.
And Maverick's another one. I was curious if he would be back this year, but I'm not like super shocked. He's fun to cheer for. He's a good pilot, but he seems to be doing a lot of stuff with cinema and things like that, which is cool.
Yeah, that was a tough race, man. The level 13 was the first time in 5 seasons with DRL. Well, 2019, 20, 21, 20, yeah, so like 4 or 5 seasons with DRL where I didn't make a golden heat in real life. And you were at that event, and so you know that I did make the golden heat. I did win a spot into the finals. He is the heat 5 of the finals, and they had a technical call. You know, of course, I think the technical call was ridiculous because it came from someone who was already in the golden heat. And they reran it. And that was like just not my night. Like there's certain days where you're just on it and you can't be beaten. There's other nights where you're not on it. That was me. And so that was like, I remember going to heat 5. I like locked in. I'm like, this is my last chance right here. It has to be now. And I went out and grabbed it. And then when it got taken away from him, like then I had a midair and then I had something else happen. And there was 2 midairs back to back. It was midair in heat 5 rerun, midair with Halo Walker in heat 6. That sucked because that was the first time I missed a golden heat. And that was a very, very proud achievement of mine.
Yeah.
None of those other guys, Minchan has missed golden heats and stuff. Like I went that many seasons without missing a golden heat or anything like that. So I'm a bit salty about Miami, to be honest, because I wanted to win that. That was like the end of the season for me. That was like, I want to win this race. I want to prove to people that I'm the best in front of a big crowd. It's like the Monaco. It's the one you want to win.
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't meant to be in that case. And that's I've accepted that. I'm at peace with that race at this point in my life. But the more we're talking, the more I'm tempted to go down to Miami and watch this in person. I'm a fan of drone racing, and of course I want to be there. And it'll be kind of weird to be behind or not on stage, I think, if I go. But
sure.
I definitely love the sport, and I want to support the sport regardless of what my relationship might be with DRL or any of the other leagues. You know, I want the sport to succeed. So it'll be cool to be down there, and we'll see. Maybe it'll get me that itch and DRL that itch. I mean, DRL could have had the greatest storyline ever. They could have done MCK, Vanover, Heads Up, the greatest trilogy in drone racing history could have happened. And to be honest, it's on DRL. So if DRL wants to make things right with me, I'd love to come back and race, and they can have the greatest 3 names in drone racing history all battle it out in a whole season of IRL racing. I don't think anything is going to be more exciting in the sport's history than that. But the ball's in their court. They know more than what I'll say here what that's going to take. I would love to make it work, but we'll see what happens.
Wow. Well, thanks for even sharing that much. I would love to see you there. If you end up going in February and I'm there, absolutely hit me up. I'd love to. Yeah, we'll hang out. That'll be a good time. But it's cool to hear that you still want to have a good relationship with DRL and want to work through things regardless of where they're at right now. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, DRL's done a lot for me throughout my life. I mean, I attribute a lot of my success getting on movies like Michael Bay because of opportunities that came from DRL. And I love the sport. And I think DRL represents all the good things about the sport of drone racing. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, man. It is what it is. But I think that they got a great roster for Miami. I think it's going to be hopefully a great season. I think Miami is going to be the kickoff race, like I said. As long as they avoid the sim, I think it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. If you're enjoying what you've seen so far and want to hear the full conversation with Vanover, make sure to check out the entire interview over on my Patreon. Just click the link in the description below. But if you're not ready for that and still want to support the channel, you can also help by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support really makes a difference and helps me keep bringing you more content like this. Thanks for watching.